Good morning. This is Jason D coming live at you again from Film Fanatic headquarters. It's been about a week or so, maybe a little bit more, since I've been back to doing videos. So it feels good to be back here. Want to give a big shout out and thanks to folks who have been still chiming in and leaving some cool comments while I was away for a week. Had to go out of town from just about a week to down to Massachusetts, that area down there. You know, my to go to a family funeral, and had to go down for about, I don't know, probably about 5 days or so. Came back last night, so of course I didn't take my computer, and we're doing family things and such. So yeah, I'm back here. It is Tuesday at 10:33, so it feels great to be able to be back to doing videos, and for at least the time being, I'll be back to doing videos at a pretty regular pace here. So pretty excited about that. So I hope everyone's doing good and all that other good stuff. Watching movies, of course. The other thing too is when I go out of town, it's really funny. I go through this like weird movie withdrawal because I don't get to really watch movies too much, and I'm so used to, I guess, well, doing these videos, but also watching. I usually watch a movie one a night, just about, and then I try to stay up with new movies, and then I got through all of the newer movies that I've gotten, that I've bought over the last couple of months. I went to Bull Moose a couple of times, I think last month, and it's I finally got through all of those movies. I watched all of those movies. All of those reviews are now posted. They've been posted up on the channel for a little bit. I still have a handful of other movies that I haven't gotten to, which were movies from other times that I bought. I usually that I bought, like, usually typically when I go to Blue Moose, I focus on buying a lot of low budget exploitation movies, and then when I get more quote unquote normal movies, I will go to Goodwill and Rockland. They always have a really great selection because of finances and the financial shitty times that we're living in, where everything is so damn expensive. I'm not buying as many movies as I used to, but that at the end, that won't deter me. I'll of course will still buy movies. It's just been a little bit of a slower go of it because of that. So, but I got some killer movies over the last month or two, and it's been really awesome. So I finished most of those shows, and I've watched most of those movies. There's still a few movies I'm going to get to that I bought, here and there. Some movies that I got, quite a while ago at Goodwill, that I've just been on the back burner. I'm going to eventually get to those too. But there's always cool things to talk about when it comes to movies. So, and there's a few movies in the theater that I wanted to get to see, but I didn't get a chance to go to. So, now that I'm back here at home and don't have any other planned trips coming up, I'll have a little bit more time to sort all of those things out. But in the time being, I realized, in the last 2 months or so, there were some shows that I hadn't gotten to that I've been wanting to get to. And one of the things I wanted to finish up for this channel was my complete coverage of Andor, which is the last television show, technically, or streaming TV show that I saw. I'm pretty slow when it comes to watching series. I don't stream anything. I don't use any streaming platforms. So that's probably the biggest factor. But I'm more of a movie guy. I like movies because it's it takes up a lot less time, and I own a lot of movies, and I'm a physical media guy, so I when I can, and I'll buy a lot of movies, of course. And there are TV shows out there that are just fabulous, but there's so many television shows, streaming shows that come out. And the big thing for me that turns me off to watching a lot of them is that how they they just go on and on for incredible long periods of time. And to watch numerous seasons of shows is like really tedious for me, unless they're really, really good. I tend to like the shorter shows. I mean, my favorite show of all time is True Detective season one. I've done multiple shows on that. That's hands down. And I've talked about that show so much on this channel. I've covered that show, probably multiple times at this point. I did, a big show on it when I first saw it, and then I bought it on Blu-ray, and then did another review of it, and then I did another segment of where I did a show of each episode. So there's about three different, video presentations that I've done on that show. And again, that remains the best show for me. Yeah, my go-to. And there's been so many great other shows there. Mindhunter, which is the David Fincher series, which is just extraordinary. I did a show on that one. Um, the television show on the Unabomber, or Ted Kaczynski, that was extraordinary as well. And the last series that I watched, as far as a streaming television show, was Andor, and just awesome, just so fantastic. And of course, it's part of the Star Wars universe, and it always surprises me and kind of baffles me, but because Disney Corporation, the company Disney, owns everything. Of course, George Lucas, might have been, I'm not sure how many years ago, but it wasn't all that many years ago when George Lucas, of course, the creator of the Star Wars universe, sold the entire sold the property, sold Star Wars to Disney, and then Disney since then has gone on to make so many things with it, with all of the sequels that have come out over the last few years, and then all of these spin-off television shows. And it's been really disappointing what has come out, and my opinions of a lot of, especially when it came to the movies that have come out, over the last 10 years or so. That's really changed for me, and I've been really disappointed with those. I was a big fan of Force Awakens when it first came out. I was caught up in the whole Star Wars craze again. But again, it was ultimately so. Now, when I watch that movie, it's just so. To me, it just lacks so much originality to it. And I was at one point a big fan of that movie. It kind of got me interested again in the Star Wars universe, but I can't really. I don't know. I can't really get through it now because I just feel like it's such a carbon copy of, you know, or where they tried to just replicate that the great, first two movies, A New Hope and the greatest movie in the entire Star Wars franchise and universe, Empire Strikes Back, and it just, to me, it's so, when I watch Force Awakens, it's just too transparent on how they try to. It's so formulaic to me now, and I can't really get through it. And the rest of the movies, I just can't do it anymore. So, but when Andor came out, again, I was late to the party with that because it was a streaming series, and I believe Andor season two just finished up over at least a little while ago, and I've heard it's really really good. So I'm gonna watch that at some point too. I've heard it's really consistent. But the Andor series, season one, which I've been covering, realized I have a few more episodes to talk about when it comes to that series. So this is a video about continuing the coverage. I think there's two more episodes, today's show, and then one more episode to cover. And today's show is on episode 6, The Eye, with cover from a local festival. The Thani mission reaches a point of no return. And this is the second to last episode of Andor. And again, watching Andor, I feel like this series is everything that I wish Star Wars was. It's gripping. It's made for adults. The writing is just impeccable. It's got this grittiness to it, and it's baffling to me why why with the films that they put out, that Disney has put out in the Star Wars universe. You have the Force Awakens and those three movies that came out, and then you have the two spin-off movies, Rogue One, and then also Solo, where I felt like all of those movies just really have this sense of where they decided to play it really safe. And I just feel like watching those movies, you get the sense that they wanted to play it safe and they wanted to try to bring back, some of those elements of the first two movies that first came out, A New Hope and especially Empire Strikes Back. They really tried to replicate that, some of those strengths from those movies that make those movies such classics. But then, they tried to make it very contemporary and try to. I felt like they tried to appeal to lots of different groups and without like just telling a good story. And they were trying to appease so many people, and I think that was a big problem. One of the biggest problem with the Last Jedi and the last three theatrical movies that came out. It was recently announced there's going to be a new Star Wars movie. Star Wars, I think it's called Starfighter, and it's not coming out for a couple of years. Mia Goth is going to be in it apparently, and Ryan Gosling. So I don't know. I don't know what to think of that. It sounds like it could be intriguing, and it's supposed to be a sequel. But I feel like they got so bogged down with trying to make new fans, appease the old school fans like myself, people that grew up on it, and then they were so preoccupied with trying to appease these bases, with these different groups of fans. That I think watching these movies, the problem too is like it's almost impossible to really enjoy them for what they are because you have to have seen. They're not standalone movies. There's so many connections to all of these other movies and all of the television shows that they had and this and that, and I think that the biggest strength for me with Andor is that it's such a great standalone series. It's its own thing, and it feels fresh. It's gritty, and I feel like they Disney took a chance with this series because of the tone of it. It's definitely darker. It is. Andor is all about, Rogue One came out a few years back. I thought that movie was okay, and I'm not a fan of that movie really because, again, I feel like there's a level of where you know what's going to happen. You're going into it. It's about the rebel uprising, and in this the universe of Star Wars, it takes place before A New Hope. So you know everybody is going to die, and there's no. It's very paint by numbers, and I feel like they kind of played it safe. But with Andor, it feels like they just approached it with this, you know, fresh storyline, and it's got, even though going into the series, like, you know what's going to happen and what it leads to, it still gives you a lot of surprises and takes you on this journey, and it just feels like it's a standalone uh, series. And for me, Andor is it feels like a movie. The production value is spectacular, and it just feels like you could go into this as a fan of science fiction, go into it totally cold, watch it, right through, pretty much like what I did. It took me about 2 days or so to get through it, and you can go into it not knowing anything about the Star Wars lore or mythology or who even any of the characters are. You can just, if you're a fan of science fiction, it's some of the best science fiction I've seen in recent time. And that's the strength of it. It's a standalone thing, and that's a problem that I think really it gets in the way for a lot of these franchises that we experience these days, where it's a rare thing of when you have a movie in this franchise that is this massive franchise, whether it's a comic book franchise or what have you. In this day and age, it's pretty rare to find a movie that you can just go into it fresh and go into it cold, not having to have seen multiple other things and just enjoy it. And I think Andor's strength is that it really focuses on just really good storytelling. And again, it's also made for, I think kids can watch it, but I also feel like it's made with intelligence. You can watch it. It's made for adults too. It's definitely very it's a lot darker in tone, and it's just incredible. It's just awesome, and it's one of my favorite series that have come out. It's everything, like, again, like I said, that I wish Star Wars could be. And I'm not sure why. I've thought about this a lot, like why this series didn't play it safe, but the movies have played it really safe, and again, have gone to some cool places, and brought in, brought you or brought some new, intriguing or fresh ideas, but they're not willing to go far enough, and they're still like, there's like trepidation with, like, you know with like taking that deep dive and going a little bit further. And I feel like with the Andor series, they did that. They totally nailed it, every from top to bottom. And again, it's one of those. I think it's one of those series that you could. I've talked about this series with friends and stuff since I've seen it, and I've said to people, it's like you can watch Andor and not be a quote unquote Star Wars fan. You can just, if you're a fan of really awesome science fiction, you'll love this. And again, it's its own thing. Episode 6 continues with such great momentum, and it's and originality, and it's just a killer series. And I do want to buy it on Blu-ray. I have not. I've only seen it on DVD. I've only seen the series once, but killer series, and definitely. Again, I'm really late to the game when it comes to watching series because I don't stream television shows. I end up seeing these shows, well, sometimes years after they've actually come out, I mean, with Andor, it's been like, I mean, when I finally saw it, it's been out for season one's been out for about 3 years, I believe, maybe 2 or 3 years, maybe a little less. And I just recently got it through Opera House Video, of course. And I do believe season two is out. It has been done for a while, and I think Opera House will be getting that too. So I'm definitely excited about watching that series. But episode six just continues with the great suspense, the great writing, and again, knowing what the outcome is going to be in the chronological order of these movies, it's still thrilling and exciting. So I can't recommend this series enough. Just awesome. And it's everything that I wish Star Wars was. So thanks again, and we will see you next time. Peace.